How's it going, creeps? Welcome to episode 8 of Cinema Creep, a Black Mass Films podcast where we dissect all things vile, disgusting, and downright terrifying in the world of horror cinema. Go check out our sponsor, Everblack Coffee. You can go to everblackcoffee.com. It is ethically sourced, premium quality coffee with a macabre twist, and it's what we drink here on the show. So I'm one of your hosts, Justin James, and I'm joined by Andrew Henderson.
Hey guys, what's up? Justin, how have you been all week?
It has been a crazy week. Got a better job now, though. So I work with Andrew. So we only have to do civilian work 3 nights a week, but it's long hours, grueling work. But means more time for horror movies, more time for podcasting, more time
for making movies.
And here I am making movies.
Yep.
So
the night shift.
Good old night shift. But, you know, hey, what are you going to do? So this episode is going to be pretty interesting. So we don't have near as many, notes like standardized as we normally do because there's some news that's come up. So we're just going to kind of talk about that. And first, I guess we'll dive into kind of, what we've watched a little bit. So since you have 2, you want to jump on one first?
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out right now on streaming. Stuff's just coming out left and right. But the first one that I'm going to pick, or the first thing that I watched over this past week, is a film called Ruin Me from 2017. This is directed by Preston DeFrancis and written by Trista A. Bissett and Preston DeFrancis. And it stars Marcianne Dwyer and Matt Delapina and Chris Hill. So, of course, there's a lot more people involved, but those are our top billed cast here. So our synopsis is Alexandra reluctantly tags along for Slasher Sleepout, an extreme event that is part camping trip, part haunted house, and part escape room. But when the fun turns deadly, Alex has to play the game if she wants to make it out alive. So, basically, if you have been around for the last couple years and paid attention to horror, there's a lot of these events popping up where you can actually go on these camping trips that are essentially, it's like LARPing. It's like live action role playing for horror fans. So what you would do is you would go out and you would camp, and basically you would have these different scenarios they would run you through. And, if it's a slasher scenario, you'd be in the woods and they would pop out and try to scare you, and you'd have to make it to the next checkpoint and stuff like that. Something I've always wanted to do. I have not made it out to one. If you're watching this on YouTube, or, if you know us, let us know if you've been to one. We would love to hear about how your experience was, because me and Justin are definitely dying to get to one of these. But
right. So it's basically like a glorified extended stay, like haunted trail kind of thing,
exactly.
Right?
Like you show up at a rally point, and basically from the time you get there, they're in character till the time you leave. You have to make it through the challenges or whatever, and try not to quote unquote die. But this movie essentially is modeled after that sort of thing, right? All these kids are these adults. I guess they're adults. They're, whatever. But they all go out on this slasher sleep out thing. And, I want to talk about it, but I don't want to give too much away. It's just a really fun movie with lots of twists and turns. And there's a dude in it that looks like Davey Havoc from AFI, which is pretty awesome. His character's really funny. And his girlfriend's really funny. You have your 2 characters that have been to a lot of these type of events that are like super try-hards. You have like a lot of the horror tropes. You have the random like drifter that shows up. And of course you have the girlfriend that's there with her boyfriend that she doesn't really want to be there. So there's a lot of fun things that play on tropes. But as comedic as it is, it gets pretty serious in its second half and touches on some pretty serious subject matter, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting it to be sort of funny all the way through, but it kind of turns more a serious tone at the end. And I'm not going to say it's A+ film, but I definitely think it's maybe a 6 or 7 worth visiting. So,
Right. Yeah. I'm looking at stills from it now and it looks pretty. I mean, it looks decent enough.
yeah, it was fun. So that's Ruined Me from 2017. What do you got, Justin?
Okay. So, speaking of films that weren't like masterpieces, but they were just overall fun. So I've been hearing about this film on horror podcasts, seeing it all over, people talking about it on YouTube and stuff, on Twitter. And that is 2019's VFW. So I kept hearing the synopsis of this and I was like, well, it's okay. It sounds cool, but I just haven't, taken time out of my day to watch it. Well, the other day, had to go to Walmart. I hate going to Walmart, but it was one of those times where, you just have to. So I just so happened to be on my way about to walk out and past the electronic section. They have the big shelves where they've always got like movie deals, right? So they had this and Snatchers for $10, like a piece, just the DVD. And it had a really nice, those little slip covers. And, I'm a collector. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to pick this up. And the cover art's fucking awesome. Andrew and I collect VHS tapes, and there's just something about the old school, like, movies now, like the covers are just kind of
they're very
boring.
photoshopped, they all kind of follow the same design.
Right. So it almost just looks like a very templated thing. But, VHS tapes back in the day, especially horror VHS tapes, just had really awesome artwork. So this kind of looks like a VHS tape. For video viewers, I should have had it here to show you, but whatever. So I bought this film, I brought it home, and it is directed by Joe Begos, who did Bliss and The Mind's Eye. It's written by Max Brallier and Matt McArdle. And Max Brallier, from what I understand, is like, he's a novelist too. And he's also done, written some other screenplays. But this film has a lot of actually, pretty cool, I wouldn't call them like A-list stars, but it's got like Stephen Lang, William Sadler, Fred Williamson, and Tom Williamson, which those two are of no relation. But so basically, it's about a group of war veterans. So this is the official synopsis. A group of war veterans must defend their local VFW post and an innocent teen against a deranged drug dealer and his relentless army of punk mutants. So mutants, they're not really mutants. Like, I never got that. They're just kind of drug addicted, like, thugs pretty much. They're all wearing, like leather jackets and leather They look like punk rock bikers. But they're like, really big, like brawny dudes with shaved heads and tattoos. The vibe I got from this film was like I think I told you before we actually started recording this episode, it was like Assault on Precinct 13 meets Hobo with a Shotgun. Is kind of the vibe I got from it. Now, the cinematography was really cool. They did some of our, like, the lighting that we like. There's a lot of red and blue light, and it's kind of an over the top. It's just a fun film. I was actually working out while watching it. So it's one of those movies you can just kind of put on and do something else. And you still like don't really miss anything. Just so basically, like, this girl runs into their VFW. She's stolen some drugs from these people and they start storming the VFW after her. And there's like 5 or 6 vets in there just chilling, hanging out. And they want to go to a strip club after because it's one of their birthday. It's the owner's birthday. So they're about to close up shop and go to this titty bar, as they kept calling it in the film. They're just like these old Vietnam War vets. So they talk like old Vietnam War vets, but basically they have to like fight off like hordes of these drug addicted thugs. And it's gory. There's a lot of actually fun kills. I'm not going to give any of them away because I do suggest you go watch this. And if you pick up the DVD that I got from Walmart, they're including, I think it's a 30-day subscription to Shudder. So there's our every episode shameless Shudder plug, even though we're not sponsored by them. So yeah, VFW 2019. Go check that shit out.
I haven't seen it, but I'm all about the army of punk mutants, so I'm super stoked to watch that.
Oh yeah.
So I got
the main villain, like, he's got a leather jacket and it's like over the top stud. It's not even studs. It's like the spikes, like the inch long, inch and a half spikes. Yeah. And like they're all over his leather jacket.
I'm going to watch it.
And it's just, it's fucking fantastic. But, so The Beach House, I see that you've watched that, and I've been meaning to watch this, just haven't got to yet. So take it away.
This is the better of my two picks. Not to discredit Ruin Me, but The Beach House from director Jeffrey A. Brown and writer Jeffrey A. Brown. It stars Liana Liberato and Noah LaGrosse and Jake Weber. The synopsis is: a romantic getaway for two troubled college sweethearts turns into a struggle when unexpected guests in the surrounding environment exhibits a sign of a mysterious infection. So basically, this movie is almost a sci-fi horror, Justin. I think you would really dig this, especially since you're into like body horror and that sort of thing.
Hell yeah.
So basically you have these two teens or two early college age students, and I just assume everybody is a fucking teen in a horror movie. I don't know why I keep saying that tonight, but right? So they're like college aged or whatever.
Well, even the actor can be like 30 years old and still playing a teen.
It's like it's like all the girls in Halloween. None of them were high school age except for Jamie Lee Curtis. But
right.
Well, yeah, that's how it is in every movie. It's just so they can get away with showing like breasts and not have to reap the repercussions.
Right.
But
which is still weird because in story it's supposed to be like a minor.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about in our last podcast with
Friday Night.
Yeah. So The Beach House. So it has these two kids and they are a couple and they kind of have like a kink in their relationship. So the guy, he decides he's going to take his girlfriend out to his dad's beach house, to try and rekindle the relationship, right? Because nobody ever stays there. So he takes her out there, and lo and behold, they find out that there's somebody else staying there that supposedly got permission from the kid's dad to stay there. And so they kind of are, for the first couple of days, trying to figure out how are they going to stay in this beach house with this other couple. What are they going to do? And then all of a sudden some really weird shit starts happening. And then there's a whole lot of like throwbacks to older horror films if you pick up on the visual cues and stuff. So like a thick fog rolls in, what does that remind you of, right? And apparently there's something in the fog, right? Or there's something happening with the fog that is, sort of starting to make them sick, and making people act weird around the town. I mean, you don't see very many people, but when you do, you can see, oh shit, the fog's doing something to these people. So I'm not going to give it away, but it starts going one way. You think you think one thing is going to happen, and then it takes the story, a complete, 90-degree turn. Not 180 degrees, not completely out of left field.
It's not a Shyamalan.
But it takes it's not a Shyamalan. It takes a little 90-degree turn and you're like, oh shit, this is actually pretty rad. It's got a lot of special effects in it, which is really cool. And just the way that they made these, I guess you could call them creatures without me giving away the storyline, creatures look is super rad and super frightening. So The Beach House, it's on Shudder. It's from last year, I believe. And, put it on your list.
Yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb.
I give it
now.
an 8.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out this week. Like I said, going back to like talking about the covers of films, that's why, like, even though this has been on my radar and so is VFW, I watched VFW instead of this because, I just looked up the Beach House horror film and the cover comes up and it's literally it's like a photograph of looking down like a pier or like a dock. Yeah, like the pier with the steps that goes down to the beach, and it's like the top of the girl's head like looking over the steps, and then the rest of the cover is just the sky with like a very plain font that says The Beach House. So it's like VFW or The Beach House. So
yeah, I'm looking at VFW stills right now, and it definitely looks like something that I can see why you watched it after just looking at the cover. And then just looking at stills from the movie,
Right.
it looks like something we would watch. So I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Looks like something we would fucking make.
Is that the dude from? That is the dude. What fucking movie was that guy in?
Which
the
guy?
old dude
with the beard?
He's a,
Oh, that's so Stephen Lang, whatever. He's in a good bit of shit.
he's in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. This
He's in
movie's
that movie where
He's in
That's
Don't
it.
Breathe, Tombstone.
Don't Breathe. That's the one I was thinking of. To where they sneak into the house to try and rob him or whatever, and he's blind.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it's got the what's his name, William Sadler. He's in like the Shawshank Redemption and shit.
Yeah, so it's got a star-studded cast for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that.
Oh yeah.
Did you know, or have you seen, a little bit off topic here, have you seen Straight Edge Kegger? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's a horror film. It's an indie horror. Look it up real quick. It's called Straight Edge Kegger. And I can't believe, I mean, I've known about it for a couple years, but I just kind of like, it resurfaced. And, as somebody that's, a lifelong straight edge person, you figure.
I was going to ask, and now is this supposed to be like an ironic title because keggers obviously have beer and it's a straight edge
it's
kegger?
Literally, here's the synopsis. This is from 2016. So a young punk and a house full of drunks square off against a group of militant straight edgers that he has abandoned. That's it. So I know it deals with straight edge and death. So I don't know. I don't really know much about it. Like you can't stream it, or you couldn't when I looked months ago, but you can buy the Blu-ray straight from their website. So it might be worth investing in, but the Blu-ray is fucking expensive. It's like, I want to say it's $30 or more.
It's probably one of those rare, or it's not like rare, but it's like, not a very well-known film. And those usually go
right
for 30, 40, $50 sometimes.
But I definitely want to check it out. It's by Jason Zink, written and directed. And, I think this guy is maybe on his up and coming, like he's done some other things. He has some credits on IMDb. When I Die, Night Terror, Straight Edge Kegger, and then Slumber Party, which is in post-production now. So, I mean, he's up and coming now. So shout out to him. I don't know much about him, if he's a straight edge individual himself or what. But respect if he is. But so moving past that, one other thing I want to mention real quick, Justin. So I recently, I've seen Toxic Avenger, right? I grew up watching the Toxic Avenger cartoon. Now,
right.
I sat down the other night to revisit watching the Toxic Avenger, and holy shit!
Don't bash my trauma films, man.
Holy shit! I forgot the amount of cheese that movie was. I was like, oh my god! Like I could not. I mean, like I thought I knew the film pretty well, but apparently I forgot how just like loopy it was because.
Well, like you gotta think, like all trauma films are just over the fucking top.
They are.
But now Toxic Avenger does take it like up a notch. The one thing that kills me though is some of the dialogue, the way it's delivered, and it's like obviously ADR, and they do like the very like, I don't know, he'll say something and it's like, oh man, and it's just like obviously like a in studio like ADR, and it's so cheesy, and it almost doesn't even like match up to the actual sequence or whatever. But it's just something that's always, every time I watch that film, it just kind of do a little internal giggle.
Did you know they had a Toxic Avenger musical 2018?
Yeah, Toxie the musical.
I never knew about this. Why didn't I know?
I love me some trauma, dude.
I mean,
Citizen Toxie.
Understandably so. Like, I mean, I definitely like Lloyd Kaufman and, like most of the trauma films. Like I said, I grew up with Toxic Avenger, the cartoon. That was my shit as a kid, which is really weird, when you think about it, that they made, the Toxic Crusaders or whatever it was called. Yeah, here we go. Toxic Crusaders from 1991. It's really weird that they made a cartoon modeled after that movie that was very, very like vulgar.
Well, here's the thing. So the only reason Troma films aren't bigger or have bigger budgets is, for one, they pay for every fucking thing themselves. Lloyd Kaufman is very
DIY.
Anti the DIY, anti the big conglomerate TV stations and networks, and like, because there's a handful, there's maybe like what, 2 or 3 companies that own everything as far as like the big studios go, right?
Yeah.
He's very anti all of that. And whenever Toxic Avenger came out and it was so successful, all of these big studios that were shitting on Troma we're like, oh wait, you've got a character and a backstory and all this stuff. We could do something with this. So, there were people making like there's Toxic Avenger action figures, the cartoon. And I've heard Lloyd Kaufman in several interviews talk about how there's actually been like bigger studios coming to him wanting to make a reboot of Toxic Avenger. And he's just like,
go fuck yourself.
Pretty much. But the cool thing about Troma is Troma has, quite a few of their own productions. But what I love about Lloyd Kaufman is there's a lot of films that either like fell out of circulation and they weren't getting distributed. So Troma, like their basement at their, their headquarters is just full of original negatives and stuff from all of these films, like not just horror films, that they have purchased the rights to so they can distribute them and preserve these fucking classic films. So that's one thing that I just absolutely respect about Troma and Lloyd Kaufman is he is just all about independent filmmakers and preserving actual good films. And then, not to get on a Troma kick, because we might do a whole episode about that one day, but they've been big studios have been ripping Troma off for years anyway. Like, for example, what's that film? Katie and I have had this conversation because she likes the film. But there's a mainstream softball film about a girls softball team, and I can't remember the name of the film.
Older movie?
But
it's called. Are you talking about a League of Their Own?
Yes, A League of Their Own. Troma made a Troma-fied version of that film first, called Squeeze Play.
Squeeze Play.
And
damn it,
yeah, and it's a LGBT progressive women's empowerment film, and because every Troma film has like social undertones. And then of course A League of Their Own comes out. Like, it's funny if you ever hear Troma talk about it, like after this episode, just look up Troma talks about Squeeze Play or something, and he gets so pissed about A League of Their Own. It's funny, but
understandably so. But he also you got to understand A League of Their Own was based on a true story too. So
I guess you could say it was in a league of its own.
Hey. Yeah, so let's get down to what this episode's about, Justin, and tell me the news that you got.
Okay, so if any of you video listeners, viewers, whatever, are wondering why I'm wearing my finest dark blue coveralls, it's because this episode is all about Halloween. If you couldn't tell by the stacks on stacks of VHSs and Blu-rays and DVDs, I'm sure you've got them stacked on your desk.
Actually,
over there.
I cleaned everything off over here, but...
Whoa. Okay, well, I've got Halloween 2 VHS over here, and then I've got 1 through like 3 on Blu-ray, and I've got DVDs over here, and my Michael Myers mask is on the desk.
Show your back piece of John Carpenter.
Oh, yeah. Let me just take this off. I got a whole, it's just like John him. Carpenter too. It's like, it looks like it'd be on like a, don't tempt me. Those like Catholic candles that have like the art on them? Like I'll get a John Carpenter style.
How sick would that be?
Or I'll get like, that'd be fucking awesome. But so any of you who keep up with horror news, you have heard by now that Halloween Kills has been delayed until October of 2021, which fucking sucks, but it's for the best. I don't want the theater experience of seeing this film to be like confined to, we can only have like 15 people in this theater. You got to wear a mask. You got to do all this stuff. So I would rather them delay it. You know, it's for the best. It's for the, not only for the sake of the experience of watching the film, but, you know, for the safety of people who are going to see the film.
I think I heard it's getting an IMAX release. Is it getting an IMAX release?
Yeah. So it's also getting an IMAX release. So Katie and I, of course, are going to see this, but she doesn't do IMAX films. She gets vertigo.
I'll be there then.
So we can go catch this in IMAX.
We'll see. First we go with our significant others, and then we'll go together. It's easily done.
Yep. So this film, I am still fucking excited for this. I've got some quotes here, and then I want to kind of you know, since this episode, we're just really talking about this news and we're not really going off of a whole lot of notes and stuff. I wanted this to be kind of more of just an organic conversation,
hit
right?
me with what you got.
So I do want to kick this off with some hype that I've heard about this film already. So according to director David Gordon Green, this is a quote. The first one was more about Laurie's life of isolation after Michael and her attempts at revenge. It was personal. This is more about the unraveling of a community into chaos. It's about how fear spreads virally. And John Carpenter said, quote, the movie is something else. It's fun, intense, and brutal. A slasher movie times 100. It's huge. So, lots of hype going into this film. And I hear that the kill count is supposed to be fucking ridiculous. Now, there is some news circulating about this film having flashbacks. You know, I assume to the original 1978 film that this is a direct, or that the 2018 Halloween was a direct sequel to. Halloween Kills, by the way, is a direct sequel. It picks up on the same night that the 2018 film ended on. If you haven't seen that fucking wicked teaser trailer they put out, go type in Halloween Kills teaser trailer. It was really awesome. It's super short, but it got me hyped. But so I wonder if the flashbacks are, you know, going to contribute to that kill count. Maybe are we going to see kills that happened later the night of the original 1978 killing spree?
That's what I'm hoping, Justin, because I have a love-hate relationship with the 2018 Halloween. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I'm stoked on it like everybody else is because, of course, you know, you have Nick Castle, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, you have John Carpenter coming back to be involved with things, right? To oversee things and write music with his son, Cody Carpenter, you know, which I didn't know that Cody Carpenter was him and Adrienne Barbeau's son. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, so I didn't realize they actually had a kid together. I knew he had a son. I just didn't know it was with her, which is pretty gnarly. But so I'm stoked that all of these older characters come back and cast members and crew members all come back to be a part of this because, you know, it's hard to make John Carpenter really want to be part of the Halloween series again, right? I mean, of course he gets a writing credit for everything, but like, you know, after the 1978 Halloween, he basically was just done with it, right? Because, you know, he wrote the 1981 Halloween basically so he could cash out. Like he said it in interviews, I'm doing this just so I can make some money real quick. And also because if this film is going to continue, or if this story is going to continue, I want to be the one to help write it, right? At least that was his thought process going into episode 2, film number 2. And, you know, once he started writing on it, he absolutely loathed every minute of that, according to him in interviews, right? So that's why Halloween 2 is kind of sloppy, you know, from 1981. But I also really enjoy it. Now, the reason I really enjoy it, and I've talked about this a little bit in past podcasts, Justin, is because I feel like it's tighter from like Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, even though she's not in the second film a lot. You know, I mean, she is, but she isn't, you know, and she's her character doesn't really get developed in that because she's literally just stumbling all over the place through the hospital and playing a victim the entire time, right? But I just think like in the first movie, 1978, I think Jamie Lee Curtis, as awesome as she is, don't crucify me. Anybody, I think, obviously she was early on in her career, so there was a lot of stuff like the keys. Ooh,
Oh,
keys.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
Like
keys.
So now, but like in the second film, you didn't get any of that because she was more, like coming into her acting chops, right?
Right,
And
right.
the same with like, I didn't feel that Dr. Loomis's character was written as corny in the second film, as Donald Pleasance portrayed it in the first movie. But that may be because Donald Pleasance didn't want to be in the first movie at all anyways, like he was like, I'm basically here because my daughter thinks you make good music. Really is like what he told John Carpenter. He came on set and was like, I'm here because my daughter likes the music you did on Assault on Precinct 13 or whatever. And John Carpenter was like, all right, I'm going to pay you $20,000 for 5 days work. So let's fucking do this.
Yeah, he was there a short time, but I do agree. I think his performance in Halloween 2 is more, I don't know. I don't want to say serious, but yeah, he got more screen time. And then Halloween 2 did give us the, I shot him 6 times.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So,
but I mean, so my thing with Halloween 2, not only is it, again, guys, the nostalgia factor of it, is I like how it picks up the same night, like moments after the original movie, right? Like I really have always loved that because I think when we drag out storylines like that, I think it sort of loses its, not that it's a realistic story, right? But I think it kind of loses some of its realism, like with Friday the 13th, it's like year after year after year, like Jason Voorhees isn't getting any older. He's not, maybe he's decaying a little more, but he's not getting any fucking older. He's still as agile as ever. You know what I mean? And, obviously he's sort of like an entity, but same with Michael Myers, if you're looking at the original canon, it's like, he's always like a fucking spring chicken. You know what I mean? Like taking out dudes that are like roundhouse kicking him or like driving cars and, like fucking, he's the shape, right?
How about I don't want to talk about this movie per se, because I want to keep this conversation kind of to, Halloween 78 and 2018 and Halloween Kills, in contrast, of course, to the original sequel. But how about Halloween 20 years later, where he, with one arm, comes down the fucking like, I don't know. I guess it's like some kind of pipe or something across the ceiling. Yeah. And he's just hanging up there as if no one fucking ever saw him. And then he just lets himself down with one arm.
That's a Jerry Dandridge power move right there.
You damn right. But continue.
Yeah, no. So when we talk about Halloween 2018, Justin, I think to talk about it responsibly, because Halloween 2018 is saying nothing else is canon. It was 1978, then it's 2018. But I think in order to talk about 2018, we have to talk about H2 from 81. We have to talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and we have to talk...
Oh, do we have to?
Right, and then we have to talk about 2018, right? So, in contrast to these, right, I recognize 2018 is the better Halloween 2, except for the fact that I love to see the moments later, right? And I love the entire, 3/4 of the film or one half of the Halloween 2 from 1981 taking place in the hospital, because it just gives me that real like creepy vibe. Because listen, I've been in a hospital overnight, and a lot of people say, well, it's not really realistic for you to be in the fucking hospital and be dead like that. Yes, it is. I've been in hospitals like that.
Especially in like the ER or triage and shit. Like,
listen, the last time I was in the hospital wasn't for me, but I was there for 5 days straight, and I had to go down to the, I would make runs down to the cafeteria at night, in the dead of night. There was fucking nobody around, and you would go in there, and I immediately thought of like 1981's Halloween, because it was just dark. They cut all the lights off. All the chairs were stacked on the table. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
Where's Michael Myers?
That's how it was. So, back like last November when I had appendicitis, like I was only there for one night, but that one night was like there was no one there. Or whenever Poppy was born last year, you know, we went and we were there all night, and it was like the hallways are just empty and dark, and you've got maybe like one nurse to each unit, and it's just
it's fucking
Halloween 2 is
totally
real
realistic.
shit, man. Which I do want to point out real quick, since you did mention Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know we shit on Rob Zombie a lot on this podcast, but when I saw Halloween 2 in theaters, I almost like this film had potential for me to like it and like it more than I liked his first one. So, you know, the whole first like 15 minutes of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 takes place in a hospital. So I was like,
Hillbilly Hospital.
So I was like, okay, hell yeah. Like, I don't like that it's a year later and it's weird, and his first one was kind of meh, but he's still sticking to like, you know, the thing. He's just going to make it more brutal. And then it turns out it's a fucking dream sequence. So that pissed me off.
Right.
But Halloween 2, I like it as it's as a film. There are some things aesthetically maybe I don't like. Like, I do think Michael looked scarier in that film, but I also don't like the reason he looked scarier. There's just something about that was Dick Warlock, right? In Halloween 2,
the award for most rad name goes to that's Dick Warlock.
So, you know, his face was shaped differently than Nick Castle. So when he wore the mask, it was the same mask, and it just looked different because it was so tight on his face. It made the mask almost look, I don't know, it had like a chubby look to it. And it was just different. And I was like, okay, but this is supposed to be
Donald
the same
Trump's
night.
dad.
Yeah. But I was like, you guys, it was supposed to be the same night, but the mask clearly is weathered by like 2 years. And I don't know. But
could you imagine, Justin, and if years from now, like, you know, like our children go to make a horror movie and then they're looking around for a mask and they're like, let's get this unpainted Donald Trump mask. How fucking frightening would that be as like a horror villain's mask?
Look,
could you imagine?
It can be done. I mean,
it can be done.
The OG Michael Myers mask was a good old William Shatner mask.
Yep, old Captain Kirk.
It almost wasn't, though. But you know, it was almost an Emmett Kelly clown mask, right?
Yeah, it was almost a fucking clown. Could you imagine how much that would change just the face of like the horror genre, right?
Yeah, well,
like I wonder how that would have influenced.
So you know who Emmett Kelly
send me a
is,
picture
right?
of the mask.
Well, I'm going to show you. People have actually photoshopped like Halloween scenes, but it's like an Emmett Kelly mask.
Right.
And I think it's pretty hilarious. Emmett Kelly's like the classic clown. You always see like statues of it and stuff.
Right. That's like the
little figures. It's the frowning like hobo clown.
Is that the Dawn Post? Yeah. The Dawn Post. So yeah, Dawn Post. Yeah, Dawn Post was a old costume manufacturer that did all those super like gnarly vintage costumes that you see photos of.
Hang on, that link's not going to take you to the right thing.
Are you sending me viruses right now? Is that really what's happening?
It's taking you to a
No, I see the Emmett Kelly
Michael
mask right
Myers
here. I brought it
website.
up myself.
Well, no, I was sending you one of it photoshopped on a scene though.
Oh, I see it right here where he's coming through the closet after Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
That is so like.
That's
could you
almost
imagine
what
how
it was.
terrible that would be?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. I mean, Halloween would not be where it is today.
I mean, it would have spurred so many like different genres, right? Because we know how Michael Myers and how iconic The Mask is, you know, and just the movie itself, you know, had its big role in how slashers sort of came to be. That, and, you know, of course, like Peeping Tom and The Prowler and The Burning, right? But like this was a big, like more of a mainstream influence on all those. And it still is. Like people try to mimic, you know, expressionless masks like the one they used for Michael Myers. But had he had this Emmett Kelly mask, Justin, like, it makes me think, would we have had more like gnarly clown horror films? Or would this have been the epitome of like clown horror for us instead of people looking at stuff like Stephen King's, Pennywise?
I honestly don't think so. I think it would have made this film. I think the film would have flopped. Not necessarily like, flopped at the box office or anything. It just wouldn't hold I don't think it would hold the pop culture power that it does now. Because it's just, I don't know, it's almost laughable. It's like, think of the movies, laughable. Like what are some movies like what's Killjoy and those movies like that? Like those movies aren't going to go down in like horror history. And I don't think this would have either.
Well, if they would have used that mask, then they could have just called the movie Laugh Now, Cry Later. It looks like one of those masks. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But,
that's what a lot of people would have been doing when they leave the theaters.
Yeah. Well, I would have been just like running for the exit now and crying later because they wouldn't refund me my ticket.
Right.
But so 2018, the reason this film is so rad, Justin, is because obviously it throws in the more modern take on how you would deal with if something like this actually happened to you, right? So like if you look at the canon of Halloween, you start looking at like 4, 5, and 6 where shit just starts getting crazy, and then like H2O and that, it's just kind of like unrealistic of how they're dealing with things, right? Or how like Laurie Strode is dealing with things. Like if you look at her in this film, it makes sense, right? It makes sense how like David Gordon Green and Danny McBride wrote her character.
Right. Well, I also want to, I've said this before, but Halloween 2018 gives me Terminator 2 vibes. Like Laurie Strode
100%.
Yeah, she went full Sarah Connor. But I'm not saying that as like, a downplay on the film, because I happen to like Terminator 2 also. So, but
it makes sense where they went with it, right? But I will say that parts of it were like sheer on like, am I watching a horror film or am I watching a fucking action movie? So I get what you're saying, like, because there's a scene where she goes down in the trap down in the basement, right? And it's after her daughter comes there with her and takes her down in the trap, and she lifts up the garage door and she has all these fucking guns and she's like, pick your poison. And then she's passing them out. It's like, here's a revolver. The rounds never get jammed in that. And then, what does she say? Before she gives bullshit, her daughter, she gives her daughter a rifle, and then she says something. The camera, like, I think it does like a slow move in on her. And then she says something like, oh my God, very, very like, action film. Like, he's been waiting for me and I've been waiting for him. And then she like cocks her shotgun or some shit. And I'm like, this is fucking corny, but you know what I mean? Like, I understand why they put that there, because
where Judy Greer, the daughter, she's in the cellar or whatever, and Michael like comes to the top of the stairs and she's like, no. And then he steps in front of the stairs and she just aims the gun and she's like, gotcha.
Yeah. She's like, I knew that would work or something like that. It has to have these moments, right, to sell the film. But I think like a lot of those kind of moments like that, just in those dialogue moments that are written like that, I think those worked better in your 80s films, right? And I think they did an excellent job writing this. Like, no discredit to those guys, but I think there are certain things that you can see Danny McBride's comedic writing style coming through, right?
Right, and I think it was drunk dude on the way home.
The drunk dude, yeah.
No, that was one of my favorite scenes. He was trying to get with Laurie's granddaughter because he was drunk, but then he's just like, he falls over drunk on the yard and he thinks that it's the guy who owns the house or whatever. And he's just like, man, I'm leaving. And he's like, have you ever just wanted a girl so bad and you just can't have her? He's like just rambling on like just stupid stuff. But that scene was fucking epic though. with the motion
It
sensor
was how
lights.
the motion light, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that annoyed me, I don't mean to cut you off on this scene, about the dialogue in the movies, how Laurie Strode's granddaughter called her grandmother. I'm like, what the fuck? Like every time, grandmother. Who calls their grandmother? That's me, mom, bitch.
I guess people in Haddonfield, Illinois.
What do you call your grandmother? What do you call your grandmother?
Well, it depends. On my mom's side, we call her Nanny. And
See?
on my dad's side, I mean, we're from North Carolina. We're like straight up Southern, so we call her Mama.
Mama.
Yeah.
I call mine
like my mom is Meemaw to my daughter. So.
Well, I call one of mine the Wicked Witch of the West, and the other one is I don't know. I don't associate with her. I was always been grandma.
Well, that's what I say. Like if I'm talking to other people, like if I was talking to you and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to see my grandma today. But like if I was talking to my
grandmother.
Yeah, I wouldn't say grandmother. But like if I was talking to my brother, I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'm stopping by Mama's today or whatever. But
Mama's.
Mama.
Anyway, so that's neither here nor there, right? But like that just, I don't know, maybe that's a thing for a lot of people, but it just sounded too proper that somebody would actually say it like that. That would be somebody like yelling, Father.
Yeah, that's like upper middle class, like, Father, are you busy? Can we go play some croquet?
I absolutely love Jamie Lee Curtis. Love her in real life. She's always like advocating for the right things, but it's like her character. It's like I cannot disassociate her character with people like that in real life society. I'm like, she's a Republican in this movie. I'm like, for 100% that Laurie Strode has turned Republican.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, just look at her house. Like, she's an NRA like member.
Paranoid conspiracy theorist. The boogeyman's coming.
The earth is flat.
No, not to say,
like I said,
we're not like, I just want to point out real quick, like, as politically, whatever spectrum we fall on, like, we're not bashing gun owners. We're bashing fanatics like that. Because I myself am a gun owner, but I don't have a cellar where I've got like a million machine guns and shotguns, and I'm like, take your pick. We're gonna burn this motherfucker down. Pick your poison.
Pick your poison.
Or what's that in Blade Trinity? My favorite line. They're talking about the guns, and he's like, "Yeah, this gun can shoot everything." He's like,
"Oh yeah."
Or he says, "I don't know." He's telling them what, like, it basically is universal. It takes whatever ammo, and he's like, "Whatever gets you hard." So.
Yeah.
That Laurie Strode basically does that. She's like, whatever gets you hard, take your pick.
Yeah. So,
it's like walking into a ammunition on Grand Theft Auto. Right.
So 2018, I mean, it definitely had, super rad moments, and the whole story made sense, right? The reason you had the new Dr. Loomis, right? The reason they were able to bring him in and say, well, he was a student of, Donald Pleasance's Dr. Loomis. What was his name in the movie? Zafran? Dr. Zafran or something like that?
Something like that. He was, he became just as obsessed with Michael, but on the other side of the spectrum. Now, speaking of that,
something I want to.
Well, we'll get to that. I just want to mention, because you were talking about dialogue, I did think it was kind of cheesy when Laurie did straight up say to him, "So you're the new Loomis." Like, that was just kind of, it's like, we already gathered that, but it's like, just in case you missed it, this is the new Loomis.
You're spoon feeding the plots to the audience, But I mean, that's modern day cinema. Sometimes, a lot of people out here in society aren't the brightest, so you got to spoon feed them. Like, here's the subtext. Here's what's going on.
Yeah, but is it really subtext if you have to say it? That's just straight up. That's just straight up text.
Are like, well, people be like, he doesn't even look like Dr. Loomis. Dr. Loomis would be like 101 years old by now. So
yeah,
I don't know, but one thing I want to talk about is exactly what you were just going, the route you were just going when you were talking about how the doctors become obsessed with Michael Myers, right? And when you think about it, that's a cool subplot all on its own, right? How Michael Myers draws everybody into him, right? Like, in a way, he's always been obsessed with going after Laurie Strode, but in 2018, she has been obsessed with him. You know what I mean? She's been thinking about, she even says, I've been praying every day so he could get out. And then Hawkins says, why? And she says, so I could kill him. And he's like, that's a dumb thing to pray for. Just straight up says that's a dumb thing to pray for.
The fuck are you thinking?
But, you know, so like she's obsessed with him, right? So Michael Myers has this thing that draws these people. And of course, she wants her revenge. But these doctors, they're obsessed with finding out like the inner workings of his mind. And not even just that, the podcasters, right? You know, they're like, we have to get to the bottom of Michael Myers. They go and they like are trying to antagonize him with his mask and stuff. So they're pretty like hell bent on.
Right. Which I wanted to point out. I don't know if it's necessarily actually subtext that's in the film, but I read it as such and I kind of like that. So, you know, in Halloween Kills and this new timeline, it completely erases Michael's backstory. You know, Halloween 2, 4, 5, 6, that was its own timeline. It gave him this backstory with the family and the cult of Thorn. And then Halloween 1, 2, Halloween 20 years later and Resurrection is another timeline. It's still got the family thing. But this film like undid that. They're not related. John Carpenter said he regrets ever making them siblings. So he also regrets ever giving them a backstory. And you notice everyone in Halloween Kills that's trying to uncover the backstory of Michael Myers or get to his psyche, they die. Or not Halloween Kills, but Halloween 2018. It's like, so the podcasters, they die before they even get answers. The doctor, like he's telling Michael, he's like, say something. And then Michael fucking stomps his head in the ground. So it's like, it's almost like saying, you know, stop trying to get to the bottom of this. There is no rhyme or reason. He just is. Because these people keep pushing so hard to get answers and then they get killed before they find anything out because that is what he is. He's a great white shark. Literally, wasn't he described as that in the first film?
Yeah.
Or was that Rob Zombie's first film? At some point, he was described, you know, a great white shark with black eyes and just, yeah. So I think that's a cool little thing, whether it was done intentionally or not. So.
Yeah, so, you know, going on with that, so when they say you have Halloween Kills, which is the 2018, and then...
no, Halloween Kills is the one that's not come out yet.
You're right. Halloween
I just made 2018. The same mistake, so.
It just is Halloween. Halloween Kills is the new one that's coming out, the one that got, you know, put off till next year, 2021. So, Justin, I don't know if you read or heard that they were going to actually film those two movies back to back, right?
Yep.
Originally.
Yep.
And then they were like, well, let's hold off and see how well Halloween does. So I think they were even unsure of how well the horror community was going to perceive this being 40 years later and then just eliminating the rest of the canon, which I think it's been well received. I think everybody's accepted it, right? Because they know that Jamie Lee Curtis has spoken and she accepts it. And John Carpenter has spoken and he said, this is the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. Which is a huge deal, you know? So I think, you know, we can pick apart everything all day, but like, you know, when the creators and the legends of this series says this is the way we're going, like, or they're saying this is the way that we think the story needs to be. Because John Carpenter's expressed his hatred for the, you know, the sibling thing between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, you know?
Well, because that gave birth, you know, pun intended, to how weird the rest of the series got. I mean, 4, 5, and 6. I love Halloween 4 and 5, but you know, now he's got a niece, and then it's like, so he's after her now, and then he finally gets her in Halloween 6, and then Halloween 20 years later comes out, and it's a new timeline, and they're still siblings, and now Michael's got a nephew, right? And it's just.
So what are your takes on it then? Let's talk about that. I want to pick your brain apart real quick for the next couple minutes about what your takes on being this is like your ultimate film series, your favorite movie in the world is Halloween, right? Number one movie, horror or non-horror, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain apart then. So why do you think Michael Myers is so obsessed with Laurie Strode if they're not siblings? Because originally, the only time the sibling thing made sense was like he was trying to kill off his entire family, right?
Right. And that was introduced in like Halloween 6 with the curse thing, like, because they go into like this weird like druid curse where he's got to kill off his whole family, his whole village is what the original lore was supposed to be. So
right.
How's it going, creeps? One quick mid-episode break to tell you a little more about our sponsor. Since 2016, Everblack Coffee Company has delivered exceptional single-origin coffee and high fives all over the world. They understand that a cup of coffee is so much more than something you drink. That's why they source their beans from farms that only use fair trade and organic growing practices. When you buy coffee from Everblack, you can be certain that you're getting the highest quality coffee available by ethical means only. It's time to start looking at coffee differently. Head over to everblackcoffee.com and grab a bag for yourself. It's deliciously dark. Now back to the show. So as far as him like pursuing her without there being a relationship, like a family relationship, I'm not entirely sure like why I think it is. I think it's just one of those, he's just this force of pure evil, and he became just obsessed with her. And I think it all stemmed from, because this was kind of supposed to be technically the way it was in the first 1978 film. You know, the first time they interacted, she didn't even know they had an interaction. And it was when she dropped off the keys at the Myers house.
Right.
So, and he was like in the house and he saw her drop it off. And he was standing literally right there at the door. So I just kind of think it was just a fate thing, because then, you know, she's sitting in the classroom and they're talking about fate. Like they're going over the book that they read and they're talking about fate. And I think that's a play on she just happened to be there and he just happened to latch on and become obsessed with her. And that was just their meeting of fate. I don't think it. Yeah. I like it not having any deeper of a meaning than that, and I think John Carpenter felt the same way. That's why he wanted to undo the sibling thing in the first place. So he said he regrets ever making that decision. So,
okay, yeah. I mean, that's a good enough answer for me. So one of the cool things, Justin, about the 2018 is all of the Easter eggs and all the cool little things they threw in there. Do you have any of those that were your favorite?
Let me look some up, because now I'm not thinking like, so.
I've got one that I've noticed that's very like subdued. That's not really like pointed out. So when you have, when the podcasters go to the asylum in the beginning and they go out to the courtyard, and they go to talk to Michael Myers, they go and he's facing his back towards him. And the camera never really focuses on it very much, but you can see the wound in the side of his neck, you know, where he gets stabbed in the first film. You can see that there's a scar on the side of his neck. Right. And that's an Easter egg that I haven't seen anybody else point out. But I think that is really a unique thing that they did to make sure that they included that. So there's that one. I think that one's really rad. There's also where they show like the clothes hanging up in the yard. They focus on that. You know, it's a throwback to the first jump scare in the first one with the clothes on the hanging outside on the wire, where Laurie Strode looks down out her window and she sees Michael Myers. There's also, Justin, probably my favorite, is when, from the first film, you know, when Michael Myers falls off the balcony and he's laying there on the ground.
Yes.
And Laurie Strode's looking down at him. That's my favorite.
Yep.
In this one, Laurie Strode falls off the balcony and Michael Myers is standing on the balcony. He looks down and sees her laying on the ground, and she basically pulls the same move on him, right? So he's looking down, he sees her, and then he looks again and she's fucking gone. You know what I mean? Yep. He's like, I killed her, and then like he looks down and she's gone. So it's like the same thing, which I thought was super rad. You know, great writing there.
Right.
I could probably go all day about these stupid Easter eggs, but
right. Well, I'm
Did you
looking at
find
a
any?
couple. I mean, there's like things, like in Lori's house, there's a like a doll house of the original Myers
Right.
house, and as her house is burning, like so is that one. And there's a quote in the movie where Officer Hawkins, he's recounting, prisoner 82201, and he says, Michael Myers, babysitter murders, 1978.
Yeah,
so the
throwback
original
Babysitter Murders.
Yeah, the original title of 1978's Halloween was supposed to be the babysitting murder. Why do I keep messing that up? Babysitter murders. Say that 5 times fast. Babysitter murders.
Babysitter Murders.
That was one.
Nope. So there's also the Ghost Bob, right? They throw back to Ghost Bob, and that's when he kills the babysitter. What's her name in 2018? Gosh.
I don't remember her name, but I think. But yeah, I know.
Brienne Reese, I think.
Which that scene was kind of fun too.
No, it's Virginia. It's Virginia Gardner. She plays Vicky in the movie, and it's when she's babysitting, and Michael Myers is in the house, and the little kid, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
That little actor guy's name is oh gosh, I don't know his name. It's let me look it up real quick just so I can throw him some props because he is amazing. He reminds me of Reggie the Reckless from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Because how they're both young and they're like really comical even during like a very serious moment.
Right.
I can't find him. Why did they get him so far down on the IMDb list? He had like some good screen time. Oh, Jabril Nantambu. He played Julian. So Jabril Nantambu, he was pretty hilarious. He's like talking about clipping his nasty ass toenails on the
he's
couch
like, if
and
you
all
were
that.
a good babysitter, I'd be in bed right now. I wouldn't be sitting here on this couch clipping my nasty ass toenails.
Yeah. But and I think he even drops like a fuck in there because he sees like Michael Myers. He's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, he's like, oh fuck. Oh hell no. He runs downstairs and he tells the boyfriend, he's like, you go die, Dave. Or what, I think his name was Dave.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was like Dave or something like that. But yeah, so the Ghost Bob is when they're in that scene, and Dave goes in and finds her, but she's covered up. I think it's when Dave goes in there, or it's when the sheriff goes in there and finds Vicky covered
Hawkins, Officer Hawkins.
Oh, when he goes in there, he finds Vicky under the sheet, in the ghost costume with the pumpkin put in the aquarium.
Yep.
So throwback to Ghost Bob, which is one of the most gnarly scenes in the original Halloween. So it's cool that they brought that back. And then, Dave gets stabbed into the wall downstairs,
Yep.
sort of like Bob did. Yeah, downstairs in the iconic moment where,
he tilts
Michael
his head.
Myers does his little,
Yeah. So,
but
we could talk.
Let's talk about where this is going to head.
Because we could talk all night about just cool little things like that. So, Halloween Kills, it was delayed. So we've talked about some of this news, talked about the flashbacks. I'm thinking that these flashbacks are going to kind of show us a little more of the original night and show us maybe how Michael was actually apprehended. Because, it's just kind of, okay, we shot him off the balcony. He's not there. Now he's in prison. So where do you stand on that?
Well, does Halloween Kills have a tagline? Like because I'm looking at the storyline, it just says the saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues in the next thrilling chapter of the Halloween series. I just want to bring this up real briefly before we go any further because Halloween 2 from 1982, because the night he came home is one of the main taglines from 1978, right?
Right.
And then Halloween 2 from 1981, one of the taglines for it, like one of the official taglines for it was more of the night he came home. What the fuck?
Halloween 2018, he comes home again.
He comes home again. But so looking at the synopsis for Halloween Kills, it just says the saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues in the next thrilling chapter of the Halloween series. So it doesn't give us any hints there whatsoever, other than like the news that you pointed out at the beginning of the episode about how it's going to be a body count filled movie, right? There's going to be, it's going to be a slasher through and through. There's going to be a lot of people dying, which I'm stoked about. But
now I hope though that's not like I hope a majority of those aren't in flashbacks, and I hope it's not just random, like him just walking down the street and being like, hey, like just killing everybody.
Snapping necks and cashing checks.
Yeah.
Driving cars.
Yeah. So.
Old Mike Myers is going to steal a Bugatti in Halloween Kills. Just wait.
Mike Myers? Do I make you Randy, baby?
But so where I hope this goes is I'm a big fan of the flashbacks, as long as it's not a 30-minute long dream sequence, Rob Zombie. If it gives us, I want them to, since CGI has come so far, I'm more of a fan of practical effects, but I would like for them to include some Dr. Loomis,
right?
Stuff
actual
in there.
Like Donald Pleasance,
right? I would like to see some Donald Pleasance stuff put in there, showing exactly how he died, because that is a story in that hasn't been tied up. If we took everything else out of canon, right?
Right.
I want to see what happened there. I want to see some of Laurie Strode's life as she's struggling to get by over this 40 years, right? So like some of her, I can't live in Haddonfield any longer. This is eating at me. I have to move to the outskirts of wherever the fuck she's at. I really want to see some of that. And I'm sure they'll have flashbacks of her and her daughter. They had a few in 2018 where it showed like her daughter like punching a punching bag and shooting a rifle and stuff like that.
Right.
But I want to see some more like in-depth type of stuff, right?
I hope that the flashbacks are peppered into the film and not like
a major player.
Not like, well, even if they're a major player, not like its own like 30, 45 minute sequence. Like I want, the movie to pick up like, so maybe where that teaser starts, right? And then maybe give us a flashback for like, a couple minutes and then go back to real time.
We have to know how Michael Myers was apprehended. Like, I mean, at the end of the first movie, he just like, he's gone.
Well, see, I'm thinking that's something like law enforcement can. I want the flashbacks to be motivated by what's happening in the film in real time. So I want it to be like, okay, maybe they're having a conversation and then, an officer says something like one of the officers on scene was like, yeah, I recall this. And then it like shows us a flashback, or Laurie says something.
I want to see, what I want to see? I want to see a flashback of them holding the goddamn officer accountable that hit that fucking Ben Tramer wearing the Michael Myers mask in his fucking squad car. And nobody just gave a fuck. They're like, oh, well, let's get in this other car. Let's go fucking find Michael Myers.
Yep.
And then the fucking van just blows the fuck up after they literally run down. They mow down this kid and nobody really gives a fuck. They're like,
my favorite part of that
probably
scene
wasn't Michael Myers.
My favorite part of that scene is the walk, because he's drunk. Yeah. So he's drunk and he's underage. That's why he's like walking away. And then like they're like, hey you, and then he just like he's like, oh, and walks away.
No, what the fuck? Like, we're gonna hold these police officers accountable.
Yeah.
Even in movies, even in the film world. So the still that I'm looking at here that you sent me shows the Shape standing on the porch of Laurie Strode's
burning house
compound that's on fire, right?
Yep.
So of course the trailer has her yelling, let it burn, because the fire department of course is doing what the fuck they do.
Usher is probably going to sue the fuck out of this production company, but
let it burn. So shout out to the fire department over here at Cinema Creep. We're big supporters of what you guys do. But in this scenario,
you should have let it burn.
The Haddonfield world, you should have let it burn.
Look at this image real quick though. So this isn't like a fan made thing from what I understand, because I pulled that from Bloody Disgusting's website. Yeah. You see, it looks like he's holding an axe.
He is definitely holding an axe.
I want some Michael Myers versus firefighter action, and that's where he got the axe from.
So let me tell you this. Yes, Michael Myers versus fire. That would be a fucking sick scene, right?
Look, is that not? That looks like it might be like an axe that a firefighter would use. And
it is an axe. And Justin, I expect you to put this up on the video podcast version so people can look at what we're looking at.
oh, I will.
So obviously, Laurie Strode made this fucking crazy trap house, not
house.
to be confused with a trap house, a house that
traps.
has traps in it to trap Michael Myers. But she has this the shitty ass floor that has these big like inch gaps in the flooring, because they show the scene where she's in the basement. You can see Michael Myers walking across the floor.
Right.
So if you're gonna trap this dude in your basement that is like has strength to one arm do pull-ups from a fucking pipe, Halloween, whatever one was that, H2O, he has this superhuman strength, then like reinforce your fucking floor,
right? But that gave us one of the fucking coolest scenes from the 2018 Halloween, when he fucking like tears up that countertop to get to the bottom.
Yeah,
that was fucking epic. But seeing that in theaters, I was like, fuck yeah, tear that shit up. Michael Myers Demolition.
Tear that shit up.
Yeah, Michael Myers Demolition LLC.
Yeah. Well, that's another Easter egg too, right there. I'm just backtracking, but where he does that 90-degree sit up like he does in the original film.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's because he does it behind Laurie Strode in that one. In this one, he kind of does it more in the forefront of the camera plane, right? I can't think about what it is I'm trying to fucking say right now, but he does it closer to the camera, so it's sort of like a throwback, but it's a little different. So that's what they did with a lot of things, was they brought a lot of stuff back, but they put their own spin on it, which was super, super awesome.
Right.
But yeah, I want to see Dr. Loomis. So to wrap up my thoughts on this is I want to see Dr. Loomis flashbacks. I want to know what happened with him, because if we're, like I said, eliminating the canon, I want that to be an end that's tied up. I would love to see like if we brought back, characters like a Ben Tramer or anything like that, just to throw them in, to give them another shout out in the film, right? Like,
right.
I think I know on Twitter, Danielle Harris kept talking about how she wanted to be in this. But obviously, like if the other ones weren't canon, then she really has no place in this unless they just invent a new character for her, and that's one of the good things about Rob Zombies is just he put her in that. But
right, and I'm not completely against that, but I don't want there to be any weird like Easter egg to Jamie from 4, 5, and 6. Like, I just want her to be a new character.
Me neither. Yeah, I mean, I agree, because if we're going this route, we need to stay on this track. But still, I mean, with sticking with 78, I mean, like if you brought characters back like Ben Tramer, or mentioned him more, or Tommy Doyle, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then I don't know. It'd be good supporting characters, maybe. Just a feel good to see them come back. So yeah, I just want to see the loose ends tied up is my main thing.
Same, and I think they will. For? I'm hoping for the same thing. I want the flashbacks to give us some insight on how he finally got apprehended, since we're not getting the "I shot him 6 times" anymore. And I just want to know, did he kill any more people after leaving the house? And maybe give us a little bit of insight on Laurie's transformation, instead of going from just straight up like timid goody two shoes schoolgirl to I'm gonna fuck this motherfucker up. So
this is essentially going to be a 4-part series now, right? Because you have 78, you have Halloween 2018, you're gonna have Halloween Kills, which is the one that's coming out next year now that they've put off for a year, and then you're gonna have Halloween Ends, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna have hopefully a very solid 4-part Halloween series that this is what will show future generations,
right?
And
this is the definitive
H2O
series
and Resurrection, right?
Yeah, it's like fuck those.
We'll be like, well, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah, back in my day,
movies didn't have to make sense if they were in an anthology. We just,
right? But
we went off the rails in the early 90s.
Oh God, yeah.
That was my pocket I zipped too. So if you heard that at home, that's my pocket. My pocket had zippers.
He's lying. Yeah. Well, I got zippers too. So, I mean, that's what we're, hoping for out of Halloween Kills. Like we said, it sucks that it's delayed, but I think it's for the best. This is definitely a film I want to see in theaters and not on demand. So, I guess we're kind of going to wrap this episode up. I think we've touched on just the news and pretty much things that we want to see out of this next film. Like we said, this is just more of a natural, organic conversation about this series. But before we go, Andrew, so you asked me some questions last week, some trivia questions. I want to hit you with a couple tonight. So I got 3 questions here for you. Okay. 3 questions. Okay. They are about Halloween. So my first question: what do Halloween, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, Roadhouse, and Back to the Future have in common?
Well, you see, Halloween is your favorite set of films, so I feel like it would have been more fitting for me to ask you these questions.
It would, but that's why I'm asking you, because it's a challenge.
Right. So I'm up for the challenge. I know this one because what kind of guy would I be if I didn't know that the answer to that was cinematographer Dean Cundy?
Yeah, I was going to say, what kind of cinematographer would you be?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm a big fan of Dean Cundy. He seems like a super, super humble guy. He has a lot of stuff on YouTube, like sort of like masterclass stuff. Rad guy.
He looks like George Lucas.
He does a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah. Okay.
Next question.
So you got that one. Next question. Name. Well, no, I'm gonna ask you this one first.
Okay.
How many kills are in the original 1978 Halloween film?
Okay, so let me count, because my initial.
If you want to name them off and just count them out, like, that's fine.
Okay, so let me throw a number out there. Don't tell me if I'm right or not, okay. And then I'm going to count them off, because I know you know the answer to this better than I would. I'm going to say 6. That's just my initial thought.
Okay, name them off.
So I'm going to say you've got Bob.
Mm-hmm.
You have the mechanic. You have PJ Souls. You have... Hold up. I'm rewinding the movie in my head right now. You've got... I said Bob, PJ Souls, the mechanic.
Yep.
Three more. I know for a fact. I'm well, not for a fact. I'm pretty sure there's 5 or 6. 5 or 6. And I'm trying to think of the other 2 off the top. Was the dog? Was that a number 1 or number 2? Does that count as a death?
That was 1.
Wasn't there a dog?
That was 1, but I don't count that.
That doesn't count as a death. He kills. This is rough. I can't believe I can't think of it right now.
It's tough. See, this is what I told you last week. Sometimes being put on the spot. If we were just having this as a normal conversation, you'd be like,
is my number right? Is 5 right? I'm going to go with 5.
5 is right.
5 is right. Yes. So I have 3.
Yeah.
So
now you don't have to name them off to get you got it right. The number is 5.
Right. But I want to know what the other 2 are. So just hold on. I said PJ Souls, I said Bob, and I said the mechanic.
Yep.
And then we also have fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
He kills a cop. No, he doesn't kill a cop in number 1. That's in number 2. What are the other two?
So Annie.
Oh yeah, in the fucking
in the car.
God damn it.
And then
in the car.
And then the one that started it all, Judith Myers.
Oh, what the fuck?
But you still got it right. The answer was 5.
Because, well, here we go. Maybe I'll redeem myself with this. I'm pretty sure the car that Annie's killed in was actually John Carpenter's Coupe de Ville in real life. So,
well,
I have a little knowledge. I just. Why couldn't I remember that? Those are the easiest. That's
what I'm saying.
Those are easier than the
If
mechanic.
I wasn't like giving you trivia questions, we would have just.
Those are easier than the mechanic.
Yeah. So, all right. So my third and final question to wrap this episode up. Name 3 kills in which Michael Myers did not use his famous butcher knife. You don't have to. You don't have to get names accurate. Just instances in the films.
All right. So I know that Michael Myers likes to kill people in, obviously, first and foremost, with the infamous butcher knife.
Yeah.
I know Michael Myers also likes to electrocute motherfuckers. So I remember, is it in 4? Is it in 4 where he throws that dude into the transformer?
Yep.
Which one is that?
That's 4.
He throws that motherfucker into the transformer and takes the power out. So electrocution, and he electrocutes somebody else. I'm trying to think of the movie. I'm not going to do 2 electrocutions, but he electrocutes somebody else.
It's in Halloween 6. He kills the
down in the basement.
Yeah.
Down in the basement.
When he
because
finds
the guy goes down
his
there.
wife's head in the dryer.
Yeah, I was gonna say he finds the body in the dryer or washer or whatever it is, and then he electrocutes him. So Michael Myers likes to electrocute people.
Yep.
2018, he stomps on Dr. Zafran's head.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? He boot stomps him in the head.
That's when he's looking up at him. He's like, say something. And
yeah. Death by boot, death by electrocution. And I'm going to throw an extra one in there because I know he also kills with a claw hammer in Halloween 1981. H2 kills a cop with a claw hammer, doesn't he? To the head?
No.
Is it a cop?
No.
No.
I'm going to give it to you, though, because he does kill somebody with a claw hammer, but it's Halloween 5. He kills the greaser dude. Because remember, he's sitting in the car, and he sees Michael, like, slam the garden claw on the back of his car and scratch it, and he gets out, and he's like, I'm going to fuck you up, man. And then Michael's just like...
And then... Whoop.
Yep,
with the hammer. Yeah. Why did I think a cop? Didn't he kill a cop in one of them?
Or wait. So
Google
the kill I was thinking
I'm not going to Google it. My hands are right here.
I'm still going to give it to you. Oh, the one it wasn't a claw hammer. The one I'm thinking of, it was a garden claw.
Yeah. Google Michael Myers hammer kill. See what comes up. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to name my other kill. So my other kill that I know, well, God, there's so many awesome ones. So he kills with a syringe to the eye in 1981.
Yep.
Pulmonary embolism. He injects some air up into their eye. Number 2, he also kills it's the hot tub kill scene or the spa kill scene, right?
Yep.
By increasing the heat.
And you were right. It was the hammer to the head. That's the character I always forget. It's the security guard at the hospital.
Security guard. Yeah, it wasn't a cop.
Yeah.
Security guard, whatever. Yeah. So I named several, right? So
yeah.
Michael Myers likes to kill with a hammer. He likes to kill by electrocution. He likes to stomp on people's heads and stick needles in their eyes, syringes in their eyes. So,
yep. And
I can tell you how he kills people, just not necessarily their names.
Halloween 4. Yeah, Halloween 4 kills a paramedic by shoving his thumb through his forehead.
Yeah. So here's a question for you before we go.
Okay.
To wrap this up real quick.
Yep.
I'm not going to put mine in there. I want to know, what is your favorite Michael Myers kill of all time?
Favorite Michael Myers kill of all time is probably Halloween 2, the spa kill, because it is from Deep Red. That is completely inspired from Deep Red. So,
yep. As we talked about in our sleazy neon giallo episode, if you haven't listened, go back and check that out.
Yep.
We draw lots of comparisons between Halloween and giallos.
Yep.
So, Justin, do you feel like we completed this topic here?
Yep. That's going to be it. So, thank you guys for checking out this episode, and I hope you guys are just as stoked for Halloween kills as we are. You can find me on Instagram at Dawn of the Living Dad, Twitter, HorrorDad13. Andrew, shout out your socials.
Yep, guys. So I'm Drucifer, which is Drew, DREWXCIFER, like Lucifer, across everything: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So hit me up.
Yeah. So that's going to be it, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.